The wine that comes out of the University of Minnesota's Horticulture Research Center has a long way to travel before it reaches shelves. It goes further back than the bottle and begins before the branch. In fact, it can all be traced back to this little grape seedling. I'm Alex Lassiter with the Minnesota Daily, and you're listening to In the Know, a podcast dedicated to the University of Minnesota. This seed is one of very, very many at the HRC. Every one of them is the result of trying to crossbreed a new type of grape that may be good for winemaking. The greenhouse of the HRC is where the magic happens, or rather, where it begins. These seeds are growing year-round, and it can take years to produce plants. It takes a really, really long time to get from seed to wine. It usually takes between 700 and 800 grapes to make just one bottle. That's about 2.8 pounds. But to produce just one grape that's worthy of having a wine made out of it, that takes even more.
Each year we generate somewhere about 4,000 to 8,000 new seedlings. And over the years we've sort of done the math that it requires about 15, for every 15 to 20,000 seedlings that we are able to produce from this cross hybridization, we get one grape that does everything right.
Now, you may recognize winemaker Drew Horton because I actually talked with him last November to learn more about the winemaking process for International Merlot Day. This time, however, he got to show me some of the hands-on aspects of how wine goes from grape to glass.
Again, the grapes are dormant in December, January, February. The leaves fall off. They start to push in the spring. They grow very rapidly after that. Sometime in about early June, they'll start flowering, and then they'll set their fruit. And then from mid-June to the end of August, grapes are growing and expanding, accumulating sugar. We'll pick them September, October. You plant them once, they'll grow for 100 years.
Wow.
They don't need a lot of water. They don't need a lot of nourishment and such. Look at this. They're outdoors all the time. They've been out here the whole damn winter. And they're alive. And they're ready to do it again. You think I'm inspiring? That's what inspires me.
Now, during his time in Minnesota, which has been about 15 years at this point, Horton has been involved with helping to create two new varieties of grape, the white grape, Itasca, and the red grape, Marquette. Both of these I got to taste. Now, this time with Drew, it was actually my first time doing a proper wine tasting. I'm familiar with the differences between red and white wines, but tasting just for taste is a whole different matter.
Well, the first thing you want to do is you use all your senses with wine. So start with your first sense, and that's to look at it.
All right.
What is the color? Is it just, well, you say it looks yellow. Okay, well, is that a straw yellow, or is that a gold yellow, or is there any oranginess in it, or anything like that? This is pretty much what you call sort of a light golden color. And then you swirl the wine to get the aromas and flavors to sort of volatilize. And I smell it a few times. I get my nose way down in there. And I just take a couple of quick whiffs and start to think about what I'm smelling. In this case, do you smell maybe some fresh pear? Smell that again? Imagine a little pear or appliness in there. And what about
a little bit of that?
What about honey? Smell that and get a little bit of the smell of honey in there.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And maybe a little floral note. Maybe there's like a little, I don't know, a little jasmine in there, or maybe like orange blossom or something.
Yeah,
so
this is a little bit surprising. I was expecting just to smell grape.
Yeah, well, it's funny when people will say that. They'll say, oh, well, I smell pear and I smell apple, and some people are like, oh, I smell grapes. Well, it makes sense. It is made from grapes. All right, so we've looked at it, we've smelled it a few times. Now we're going to taste it. Take a little sip. I'm sort of going to move it around in my mouth. I want the wine to not just go down my tongue. I want it to go underneath my tongue. I want it to go around my gums and my teeth and my cheek, because your mouth is filled with flavor sensors. And so I want to move the wine around a bit. In this case, we're not going to swallow. It's early in the morning, and we're both at work. So I will expectorate after I taste the wine. You notice it's quite crisp.
Oh yeah.
There's quite a bit of acid. The second taste, now that your mouth is used to the acid, take a second taste and it won't feel as harsh.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
Lemon.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit of zest.
Taste that honey. Just like I smell that honey.
Now, the Itasca was amazing. Very crisp, very tart. It had a very punchy feel, and it woke my gums up super quick. Incredibly unique for a white wine. I hadn't tasted anything like that before. But now, it was time for me to take a taste of the Marquette. This was the wine I'd been waiting for since Horton and I last spoke in November. The grapes are rich with flavor, and the wine is full of glycerol. That's a naturally sweet alcohol.
So I'm hoping I live long enough to see a second and a third generation of winemakers work with Marquette. So we're going to look at it.
Yeah, this is the one I've been most excited for,
and honestly. It has a beautiful, deep, ruby color.
It really does.
It really does. It's not light color at all. And it's got plenty of alcohol in it. You can tell by the slow legs that are falling down. There's lots of glycerol in there. There's a lot of cherry. Black cherry. There's a slight sort of earthiness in there. It smells like maybe like wet leaves, or a little slight sort of little mushroominess. There's like blackberry, plums, lots of red fruit, but then some other aromas as well. Sort of like, as I say, sort of damp earth, or damp leaves, and not really anything floral. There's a little bit of pepper in there. I mean black pepper, not bell pepper. So it's very fruity. It smells delicious, doesn't it?
It really does, yeah.
So we'll taste it a couple times here. It has some acidity.
Yeah, no, it totally does.
It has some acidity, but it's not going to take the enamel off your teeth. Wonderful flavors. Again, that black cherry really comes through. There's almost a slight aroma of leather, fresh glove leather.
Yeah, kind of.
Now, some winemakers, like Horton, enter the industry through sales and marketing, or, in Horton's case, marketing. Get it? And you can build up the brand of a wine all you'd like, but if your product isn't great, you probably won't see much revenue. Horton says there's one surefire way, however, for a winemaker to consistently test for good product.
Winemaker's best tool is their nose. You have to be able to smell a problem that's happening during fermentation, some sort of fault development. Well, it's starting to smell like vinegar, or it's starting to smell like nail polish, or it's starting to smell oxidized, or it's starting to smell kind of sulfurous, or like swamp gas. And so your nose can tell you during fermentation what's going on, and a good winemaker can jump in and take care of that problem early on before it becomes a real problem.
Like Horton said, the nose knows, and Horton's nose has helped in smoothing out the taste of Itasca and Marquette by a lot. I mean, they were both really fun to taste. The work that the university is doing on their wines is representative of the best work that can be done in the industry as a whole. Like Horton says, good wine comes from grapes that will outlive him. It's just up to a good winemaker to get creative, try new things, and to bring these buds to their full potential. This episode was written and filmed by Alex Lassiter and produced by Kaylie Sirovy. As always, we appreciate you listening in, so please feel free to send an email to the podcasting@mndaily.com inbox with any questions, comments, concerns, or story ideas that you want us to produce this next season. I'm Alex Lassiter, and this has been In the Know. Take care, y'all.